Long ago, the world was nothing more than an endless sea, cloaked in a boundless sky, reaching as far as could possibly be imagined. Then two great titans came into existence. The Bionis and the Mechonis. The Titans were locked in a timeless battle. Until at last, only their lifeless corpses remained.
What can I say? I'm a fan as well. However, what I can say is that I am a fan only of this specific video game. Just Xenoblade Chronicles. To make myself clearer, no sequels, prequels, spin-offs, or even DLCs. Just Xenoblade Chronicles. Understand? Honestly, this video game is astonishingly remarkable. A true work of fiction that was made to impress. Xenoblade Chronicles is a video game that became famous over many years after the initial release. Xenoblade Chronicles is an action-adventure role-playing video game developed by Monolith Studios and released in 2010. You play as, and get ready, there is a roster this time, Shulk, Reyn, Sharla, Dunban, Melia, Ricky, and Fiora. In a world that consists of nothing but ocean and two colossal beings known as the Bionis and Mechonis, a race of people known as the Hams fight for their existence against the race of machines known as the Mechon. The Mechon are nearly indestructible to the Ham weaponry except for one particular sword, the Minato. Shulk, Reyn, Dunban, and Sharla set off on a quest to destroy every Mechon, with Shulk heralding the Minato. Along the way, they pick up additional party members and discover the true intention of their oppressors. For the sake of the video, I'll be presenting the video game with a definitive edition port. I feel that the presentation of the game looks better. The updated port of the video game is more or less a modern upgrade. Plus, the game does not crash. This has happened to me even in the original video game. Instead of a short story this time, I'll be telling you a story. Xenoblade Chronicles has many fans. I need not explain the excellence this video game provides. I will, of course, explain my reasons. Do not worry. Super Smash Bros. Who here knows about the video game franchise that brings together Nintendo's roster of video game protagonists to do battle against one another? Anyone? Oh, right. Super Smash Bros. Is widely known for bringing new characters to play as within each new installment. For example, Super Smash Bros. Melee introduced Marth and Roy from the Fire Emblem franchise, while Super Smash Bros. Brawl introduced Olimar and Pit from the Pikmin and Kid Icarus franchises. Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and the 3DS I guess, introduced Shulk as the new fighter. I believe a bunch of people were confused at the time and all had the same question I did. Who is Shulk? I have never heard of this character before. I remember I was somewhat drawn to Shulk as a Super Smash Bros. Character. He looks pretty cool. Then I heard they were porting Xenoblade Chronicles for the 3DS in 2015. I said to myself, alright, I have to know why this Shulk character was added as a Super Smash Bros. Character. They do not add characters to the roster of Super Smash Bros. For no reason. I remember going to get the 3DS copy for Xenoblade Chronicles in the morning and witnessing a bunch of other people outside the door of the video game shop. This game must be something. There's clearly a demand for the game. The moment I booted the game up, I was enthralled. What is this? This is unreal. The title screen was amazing. What the heck? Then, my entire 2015 summer was nothing but Xenoblade Chronicles. I was hooked so fast, the game was like a drug. Addicting, fast-acting, and insatiable. Hours and hours of my life went by without even a care in the world. I was in a euphoric atmosphere that I did not want to stop. When I finally finished Xenoblade Chronicles, I was just happy. There was a sense of accomplishment, of course, but I literally was just happy. The video game was a solid piece of entertainment. I did not realize that a lengthy video game could even do that. My next thoughts were, I have to tell someone about this, and have them play the game. The first person I knew who would appreciate the game would be my older sister. I told her she would love this game. Within a few weeks of her playing Xenoblade Chronicles, I got a text from her saying, "This game is awesome!" My sister and I became fans of Xenoblade Chronicles together. I then realized why Shulk was placed in the roster of Super Smash Bros. Characters. Shulk represents the entire game of Xenoblade Chronicles in Super Smash Bros. In other words, Shulk is from a video game called Xenoblade Chronicles, which is a marvelous video game. In 2018, the 3DS was dying and my copy of Xenoblade Chronicles was trapped within the handheld device. I wanted a port for the game on the Nintendo Switch, or rather, I did not want to play the game on a handheld device. I wanted the experience to be on a television set, something wider and more attractive. I remember looking every month and searching to see if there was ever going to be another version of the game to release. With no luck or success in my research, I stupidly decided to buy a digital copy of Xenoblade Chronicles on my Wii U. Then, in 2019, a trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition was announced. I screamed with joy and anger. I wasted money on a digital copy of the game on my Wii U and cursed Nintendo for their stealth approach for re-releasing the game. Regardless, I was excited and ready to play the game all over again. My sister was also excited for the definitive edition for the game, as she thought playing on the 3DS was rather difficult. To this day, my sister and I still converse with each other about how great Xenoblade Chronicles is as a game. In 2022, my mother wanted to take a trip to Florida. She was browsing the housing market and wanted company on her trip, as well as a chauffeur. I brought along my Nintendo Switch and my copy of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Unfortunately, the Airbnb townhouse we were staying in did not house great internet. She could not stream anything on her Roku device and was somewhat bored in the evening. The place did not have cable either. I suggested I could play something on my Nintendo Switch for her to watch. The game I decided to play was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. My mother does not care much for video games, but undeniably, she cannot force herself to say that some of the stories they make for video games are exemplary. Plus, she had nothing to do in the evening except for sit and wait for time to tick away. As Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition progressed further and further into the story, my mother also was entertained. She cared not for the action or fighting sequences, but was profoundly captivated by the essence of fiction. This is one memory that I will have between my mother and me that cannot be explained with words, but with feelings. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition brought a comforting feeling of spending time together with a loved one in the most unusual way. Eventually, my older brother found the time to play the game as well, though he knew of the game because my sister and me gossiped about the content. He picked up Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition just a little while ago and finished. He noted that he enjoyed the game, and now all three of us siblings are somewhat fans of the game in our own way. Xenoblade Chronicles is amazing and truly brings people together. The video game goes above and beyond the realm of entertainment. No wonder Shulk was chosen as a character for Super Smash Bros. I must thank whoever decided to put Shulk on the roster. Thank you! Most of my reasons for liking Xenoblade Chronicles is literally a no-brainer. Regardless, I cannot help but like the music to this video game. Most gamers are accustomed to the soundtracks that the Xenoblade Chronicles series offers. I am no different. However, what I wish to express is specific tracks that most people overlook. The ones that I find the best are simply my favorite. Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack list is widespread between simple area or location, combat, and cinematic themes. My absolute favorite area or location theme in the entire game is the Mechonis Field. The electronic distribution of sounds is absolutely harmonizing, especially when you are visually taking in how massive and industrious the Mechonis really is. Everything seems to blend miraculously together as your characters run around the inside of the Mechonis. The next theme that is another favorite of mine is the cinematic theme for Shulk and Rein's departure in the beginning. This theme repeats itself at various points throughout the game, however the string instruments within the orchestrated music carry the song with strength and passion. The intensity becomes increasingly profound when dramatic scenes play out within the game.
Fiora.
Ah, the breeze feels so good.
Yeah. I'd forgotten what it feels like. I never thought it could be so quiet here.
You're spending too much time with Ryan. You're getting used to all the noise he makes.
Yeah, maybe.
It's so peaceful. You know, Shulk, I hope every day can be like this, always.
Hey. Have you been to see Dunban?
Yeah.
I just can't do it. You got more guts than me.
Not at all. It was him that consoled me.
Oh. I guess that's the type of guy he is.
Yeah. Even without the Monado, he's the strongest person I know.
The main combat theme is, without a doubt, the only combat theme in the entire Xenoblade Chronicles franchise worth mentioning. Time to Fight is a theme that is so fabulous that the combat within gameplay can be a thrilling and heart-pumping experience. On occasion, your thoughts become melded with the tempo of this theme, and your focus is beamed into the visual display. Some combat scenarios are so intense that Time to Fight intensifies the battle exponentially the longer you are engaged. There are a ton more themes and soundtracks that I enjoy, but I will save the best for last, later. For now, let the music take you further into what ultimately captivated me personally about Xenoblade Chronicles. The gameplay for Xenoblade Chronicles is as vast as the Oceanic Sea itself that the Titans stand in. From simple questing to crafting and selling, there is so much to do within this video game. The world is expansive, rich, and deep with content that will last for hours. A few of the best parts of gameplay are clearly battling enemies, running around these massive lands and areas, collecting items, and watching the time of day change your surroundings. Collecting items in general is an extremely rewarding and engaging process of elimination. The items within Xenoblade Chronicles are displayed as very noticeable glowing orbs of light that spell "Interact with me." Upon collecting the item, there are a few choices you can decide on what to do. Stuff the item into the Collectopedia, give the item to a team member, sell the item in general, or trade the item for something from a townsperson. The Collectopedia rewards you an item or piece of equipment with any completed rows, which is a nice bonus of an achievement. Gifting an item to a team member rewards you affinity points between the two members that helps facilitate better combat engagements. Lastly, if you decide to trade or sell the item, you can bolster necessary funds or items that you will need later for something else entirely. The item management of things is what you would call great game design. Exploring everywhere and anywhere is extremely fun and productive. Xenoblade Chronicles does not forbid you from searching any area. If you want to explore in that overleveled enemy area, you can! Traveling around also grants access to areas around the map that can be used as fast travel points. This helps cut down time and save you from traveling from a longer distance altogether. Got a hankering for adventure? Xenoblade Chronicles has you covered! The differences between the day and night cycles within Xenoblade Chronicles is one of the best features of gameplay. The game allows you to change the time of day at will to experience any area during the day or night. Moreover, the day or night cycles drastically change the gameplay. Depending on the time of day, different enemies appear within the two zones of time, spicing up the formula for the area in general. The world seems so much more alive and eventful as you immerse yourself within Xenoblade Chronicles with the time. I've avoided this subject for now, but let's get into what's possibly the greatest gameplay feature of Xenoblade Chronicles: the combat. The entire aspect of combat is simply robust, fun, and engaging. I can go on for hours about why this gameplay feature is fantastic. However, I will abstain myself and note only the crucial points that make the combat exhilarating. The first point is the abilities. Every character has a unique set of abilities that are specifically tied to their character. For instance, Dunban uses a sword that specializes in offensive attributes, while Sharla uses a rifle that specializes in healing. The dynamic gameplay of combat is utilizing each character in the team formation with their abilities that will successfully garner some type of strategy without compromising victory. In other words, depending on the team you have chosen, you will need to have some sort of strategy formed to be successful. The abilities of each character can be swapped, replaced, and moved to your liking to best suit your playstyle and to form strategies. Next point to combat is the Wombo Combo. The break, topple, and stun combination is your bread and butter strategy for most of Xenoblade Chronicles. This gameplay combination is satisfying overall. Knowing when and where to break, topple, or stun an enemy becomes a practiced, ritualistic method. Of course, there are times of just being lucky with the combination as well. Not all enemies within Xenoblade Chronicles will be easily comboed. The chain attack is the next combat feature. The chain attack is something like your performance meter as a team during a combat scenario. When you initialize a chain attack, the game pauses mostly everything and allows you to refocus on the next steps to take. Every ability opens for you to use and choose, except in rare cases. Once an ability is chosen, the next character available in the list gets a turn. If you successfully perform an action on all available characters, there is a chance for the chain attack to continue if you time the button press correctly. The feeling of performing a long chain attack is a feeling like no other. The last combat feature to note is the Monato's Future Sight ability. When an enemy is about to do a significant move, the Monato will react and pause the game. Then, a short visual cue of what will happen plays. The enemy will execute some type of move. After the vision of the move is over, the game will resume combat, and if you did not prepare to counter the enemy's move, the enemy will proceed performing the events of the vision that followed. This gameplay feature is one of the most significant things that makes Xenoblade Chronicles a standalone title. The gameplay within Xenoblade Chronicles has a massive amount of content to delve into. You can become lost within all of that content. However, as you take your time and do your research, you will begin to comprehend the fundamentals of what great game design is when inside a massive game.
But I'll solve it one day and show you. If it's just technology that someone created in the past, it's not incomprehensible. We'll come to understand it one day.
Don't go trying too hard.
The story for Xenoblade Chronicles remains a favorite of mine for all time. I believe that the story holds concepts that clearly define a great fictional tale. In a way, Xenoblade Chronicles is almost comparable to the original Star Wars trilogy from the 1970s and 1980s. Let me explain these concepts, as they are really simple. The first concept that Xenoblade Chronicles houses is the roster of characters and their age demographics. Every single main character is either a young adult or an adult. They are not some child, nor do they exhibit childlike behavior. Moreover, the mix of characters and their age demographics helps make the story vastly more interesting. In fact, the adult-centric aspect extends to every character within the game. This concept is extremely important to understand because the world within Xenoblade Chronicles actually sucks if you were to physically live there. The humanoid race of people known as the Hams go through some horrendous experiences on a daily basis.
Stop it! Gado, it's not your fault!
We lost 30 men in Fortress 3 alone.
Listen to me. Nobody knew that so many Mekon would come. More people would have died if it wasn't for you.
It's not about reducing casualties. We lost 30 men. And we've lost the fortress. Those men died for nothing.
Would their deaths have meaning if we'd won?
Yes. At least they would have died for something. This is the end now. It's either the Mechon or us.
Which brings me to the next concept. The story for Xenoblade Chronicles was not meant for children. As you continue the journey, you will see some cruel aspects of torture, violence, and some psychological madness. Of course, this is not to say that Xenoblade Chronicles is nothing but these attributes. However, you will see them.
You alright?
Yeah. It's okay. I'm fine now.
Man.
Your control of the Monado has always been flawless. It never crossed my mind that this would happen to you too. Are you sure you're okay?
Perhaps you are suffering this much because you put all your energy into fighting the effect of the Apocrypha.
Ain't you learnt yet, Shulk? How many times do I have to tell you? If something's up, you've got to spit it out, man. I ain't just talking about visions. I mean, whatever's on your mind. All right?
Sorry, Ryan.
Don't go apologizing. It's my fault for not noticing. Let's get one thing straight. I've still got your back.
Thanks. No.
Huh?
Prepare to die. Shulk. No. Zanza.
This wasn't caused by the Apocrypha. It's a completely different kind of power.
Shulk.
What's happening to me?
The last concept to note is that the story offers a soft, comforting amount of romance. If I were to be blunt, human beings have a distinct nature to be sexual. Romance is a vital part of stories to bring characters we like together. Xenoblade Chronicles has a charming and believable amount of romance that is not over-exuberant.
Fiora, you're awake. Do you remember? My name is
I can't believe it. My first kiss.
You do remember me. Fiora.
Of course I do. Shulk.
I have explained the concepts, but have not yet discussed my favorite parts of Xenoblade Chronicles. I really like Shulk's personality. Studious, critical thinker, and somewhat adventurous. His protagonist personality is easily something to get behind. However, nothing beats Dunban. What an absolute badass. Dunban is suave, wise, and mature. He is the very ideal character you would want to be on an arduous adventure. My overall favorite part of Xenoblade Chronicles is the entire section of the Mechonis. I believe that the Mechonis section is so cool and is the best part of the entire game. The Mechonis is, in general, my favorite Titan, along with the inhabitants that once lived inside. As fiction things go, being a Machina is like supporting the concept of the Mechonis. The Monado is about as famous within the gaming industry as the lightsaber from the Star Wars franchise. The Monado is a very cool sword that houses one of the best features of Xenoblade Chronicles: glimpsing into the future. Plus, the overall look and appearance for the blade is absolutely unique. A one-of-a-kind weapon, only within this video game. If you ever want a real fictional story that makes for a fantastic experience, Xenoblade Chronicles is that video game. While the game is somewhat long and challenging to complete, the story is well worth the time. Xenoblade Chronicles is placed third on my list of top video games of all time because the game is long. Like I said in the middle of my story, the game took me all of my 2015 summer to complete. I played the game religiously. While I was never bored, Xenoblade Chronicles just takes that long to fully complete. Xenoblade Chronicles is an absolute masterpiece of a video game, in my opinion. The story, music, gameplay, and so on are all constructed, built, playtested, and polished to perfection. I cannot imagine what the original game design choices or pre-production of this video game would have been like at the time. But what was ultimately created was something called entertainment. When I was in college, I took a class that had course material stating all types of entertainment should be created with the intent to impact. Basically, entertainment in general should be created with the intention to leave a mark behind. Xenoblade Chronicles succeeds in that very aspect. The very last thing I wish to leave you is my favorite musical score ever created for Xenoblade Chronicles. Please enjoy the title screen the way I boot up the game every single time.